There's a quiet knowing that lives at the center of your being, a flame that has never flickered, never dimmed, not even in your darkest nights. That flame is the presence of God. Not the God of thunder and fear, not the God of judgment and distance, but the God of silence, of breath, of this moment. The God that does not reside in the heavens alone, but whispers in the stillness of your heart, beating softly beneath every thought, every worry, every longing. We have been taught to search outside ourselves to seek approval, salvation, divinity in the stars and temples, in the distant eyes of others. But the great teachers, the mystics, the poets, the prophets, they all pointed to the same simple truth. The kingdom of heaven is within. The Tao flows through you. The I am that Moses encountered in the burning bush lives in the fire of your spirit. This truth is not a philosophy. It is a living presence, a vibration, a breath. It is in the way the sunlight moves through leaves. It is in the silence between your inhaling and your exhaling. It is in the moments when life takes your breath away and you can't explain why, only that something ancient inside you has been touched. The presence of God is not reserved for the holy or the devout. It does not discriminate between the monk in the mountain and the mother in the kitchen. It is not confined by robes or rituals or dogmas. It is available in this very breath, in this very second, to you, right where you are, just as you are. But to feel it, you must remember. Remember who you are beneath the roles, beneath the striving, beneath the masks you wear to survive in a world that has forgotten the sacred. You are not your name. You are not your story. You are not your failures or your triumphs. You are not the identity you've carefully constructed over years of seeking and comparing and performing. You are the silent awareness behind it all, the observer, the watcher, the stillness that has never been moved by the storms of life. And that stillness is God. To awaken to this presence is not to gain something new, but to peel away the layers that hid it. Like clouds moving from the face of the sun, your illusions part, and there it is, radiant, eternal, undeniable. The presence that never left, the source that never abandoned, the light that has never once stopped shining through you. It is not in some far-off place. It is not waiting for you to be better, purer, more spiritual. It is not hidden behind achievement or perfection. It is here, now, in your breath, in your being, in the quiet space between your thoughts. You do not need to earn it. You cannot impress it. You cannot bargain with it. You can only remember it. And in that remembrance, your life begins to transform, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. Because when you remember that God is within you, you stop searching, you stop grasping, you stop running, and you begin to live. You begin to move not from fear, but from love. Not from lack, but from fullness. Not from ego, but from essence. And the world around you begins to reflect that shift. Relationships soften, purpose emerges. The chaos does not disappear, but it no longer defines you. Because you are no longer rooted in the temporary, you are rooted in the eternal. This is the truth that sets you free. And freedom is not found in changing your life, it is found in changing your perception of it. In recognizing that every moment, every challenge, every joy, every loss is an invitation to go inward, to go deeper, to touch the divine that is already there. This is not theory, it is not wishful thinking. It is the ancient sacred truth whispered by the mystics of every tradition. Rumi spoke of it when he said, "Why are you so busy with this or that or good or bad? Pay attention to how things blend." Jesus spoke of it when he said, "The kingdom of God is within you." The Tao speaks of it without words, in the way water moves and trees grow and hearts break open. You are not separate. You never were. The illusion of separation is the root of all suffering. The belief that you are apart from God, that you are alone in the vastness, that you must prove your worth, is the lie the ego tells to keep you striving and seeking and never arriving. But the truth is, you have already arrived. You are already whole. You are already divine. And when you wake up to that truth, not intellectually but experientially, your life begins to breathe differently. You walk differently. You speak differently. You listen more and speak less. You react less and respond more. You begin to see God not just in yourself, but in every face you meet, in the stranger, in the broken, in the annoying, in the beautiful, in the mirror. Because when you realize that God is within you, you also realize it is within everyone. And from that knowing, compassion flows. Not the kind of compassion that tries to fix or change, but the kind that simply allows, that sees the divine even in the mess, even in the pain, even in the one who has forgotten their own light. You become a sanctuary, a temple not built of stone but of stillness, a living, breathing reminder of what it means to be fully alive and deeply rooted in the sacred. And this world needs that. Not more noise, not more opinions, not more shouting about who's right and who's wrong. It needs presence. It needs remembrance. It needs you awake, whole, and aligned with the God within. So be still now. Let the world fall away for a moment. Let the striving cease. Let the mind be quiet. And feel that subtle hum of life that pulses through your chest. That is not just a heartbeat, that is a hymn. A sacred chant from the source of all things, echoing through the cathedral of your body. You are not here by accident. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are the temple and the flame. You are the wave and the ocean. You are the question and the answer. And the presence of God is not something to find, it is something to allow. So allow it. Let it move through you. Let it hold you. Let it speak through you, love through you, live through you. This is what you've been seeking, not a goal, not an outcome, but a return. A return to yourself. A return to now. A return to God. And in that return, there is nothing missing, nothing wrong, nothing to fix. There is only this. And this is holy. There is a sacred rhythm beneath all things, a pulse beneath the noise, beneath the schedules, beneath the ever-turning wheels of the world. And if you quiet yourself long enough, not to escape life, but to finally feel it, you will sense that rhythm in your chest like a memory you never quite forgot. It is not the rhythm of effort or striving or achievement, it is the rhythm of being, the cadence of I am. And this is the pulse of God within you, not a God who is watching from afar, judging from above, but a presence so intimate it breathes your every breath, so close it disappears into your sense of self. So eternal it waits, unmoved, while the tides of emotion rise and fall, while the ego builds its castles, while time spins its illusions. To live in awareness of this presence is to remember who you truly are, not in moments of spiritual peak, not in times of silence alone, but in every breath, every interaction, every step upon this earth. The true practice is not in retreating from life, but in living it fully, while never forgetting your source. It is easy to touch the divine on mountaintops or in candlelit rooms, but the mastery of the true awakening is found in remembering the presence of God while washing dishes, while navigating traffic, while listening deeply to someone in pain. It is in bringing the sacred into the mundane until there is no longer a separation, until every act becomes prayer, every glance becomes communion, every moment becomes holy ground. There is nothing you must do to become worthy of this presence. Worthiness is the ego's illusion. The soul knows no such thing. The soul does not measure or compare. The soul does not wait until you've achieved, until you've been forgiven, until you've proven yourself. The soul is, and that is enough. And when you remember this, not just with the mind, but with your being, the chains begin to fall away. The anxiety, the self-doubt, the need to control, they dissolve, not through effort, but through the soft light of truth. You are not here to earn love. You are here to realize you are made of it. God is not found in perfection. God is not hiding in your achievements. God does not need you to succeed to be near you. God is found in the broken places, in the trembling hands, in the silent cries of the night, in the moments when you forget how to be strong and simply fall into the arms of now. That is where the presence is most felt, not when you are pretending to be whole, but when you allow yourself to be seen as you are. For in the divine gaze there is no judgment, only recognition, only remembrance, only the quiet joy of a flame that has never stopped burning in you, patiently waiting for your return. The journey back is not long. It is not far. It is not even a journey in the way the world defines it. It is a shift, a softening, a letting go of everything that never belonged to you to begin with. The opinions, the roles, the expectations, the pain you carried that was never yours, the voices that said you must be more, do more, prove more. When you begin to release all that, what remains is God. What remains is the truth of who you are, unfiltered, radiant, unashamed. And that truth is never in conflict. It does not compete. It does not strive. It simply shines. You do not need to convince the world of your light. You need only to stop hiding it, not with force, not with noise, but with presence, real presence. The kind that does not flinch when the world shouts, the kind that does not bend when the winds of change blow, the kind that remains still like a mountain because it is rooted not in the temporary, but in the eternal. That is the presence of God in you. And it is not distant, it is not elusive. It is not waiting for you on some far-off day. It is here. Now, it is what is reading these words. It is what is feeling this moment. It is what is holding you even now, even if you feel unworthy of being held. You are not separate from the source. Separation is the great illusion. It is the veil that has been handed down through generations, this belief that you must find God, reach God, become worthy of God. But what if I told you you never left? What if I told you the distance you feel is only in your mind, not in your soul? What if I told you that every time you paused in awe, every time your breath caught a beauty, every time you were moved to tears by something you could not name, that was God? That was the presence reminding you. Not through thunder or lightning, but through the quiet knowing that says, I am here, I have always been here. And this presence does not need to be worshipped from afar. It needs to be lived through, expressed through. It longs not for your submission, but your participation. Not for your guilt, but your embodiment. You are not meant to kneel before life, but to rise into it, to become the vessel through which the divine sings, moves, dances, creates, heals. You are not just a seeker. You are the sought. You are not just a question. You are the answer waiting to be remembered. And this remembrance, this sacred returning, is not an event. It is a practice. A choice made again and again in the quiet spaces where the world has not yet spoken. So choose now, not to become anything new, but to return, to open, to listen, and in the listening to feel, and in the feeling to remember. Not the story, not the identity, not the fear, but the presence. The ever-unfolding, never-ending, always here presence of God within you, around you, as you, not as a metaphor, not as a concept, but as the deepest reality. The breath beneath your name, the light behind your eyes, the stillness in the center of your being. There will come a day when the old fears return not with violence, but with subtlety, like shadows stretching across a field at dusk. And you may question again, am I enough? Have I done enough? Will I ever find peace? But do not run. Do not rush to banish the doubt. Instead, allow it to speak. Listen not to believe it, but to understand that even your fear is a child of the divine, misunderstood and yearning for light. When you stop fighting your fear and begin to cradle it, you discover something holy hiding within the ache, the awareness that you are the one who watches. And the watcher is never afraid. The watcher has never been broken. The watcher is the silent one, the eternal one, the presence that holds space for the waves without drowning in them. And in that watching, a new power is born. Not the kind the world adores, not the kind that wins wars or dominates conversations, but a power so soft, so still, it cannot be shaken. The power to stay rooted when everything changes. The power to remain open when the heart breaks. The power to love not because of what is given in return, but because love is the nature of your being. You become a vessel through which the river flows, not stagnant, not seeking, just streaming in harmony with something greater than the mind can name. This is where life becomes less about effort and more about alignment. Not a path you carve with tools of control, but a path you allow by surrendering the illusion that you must walk alone. Surrender is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. To surrender is not to give up, it is to give in. To fall gently into the arms of the infinite and say, I trust you, even here, even now. The tree does not struggle to grow. It simply yields to the Sunday. The waves do not resist the shore. They simply arrive and return. There is no need to force what flows by nature. There is no need to push when you can trust the pulse that brought you into being. That same intelligence that formed galaxies and painted sunsets is breathing you now. And it has not abandoned its masterpiece. It has not forgotten its own design. To live from this space is to become a living invitation for yourself, for others to step into truth, to rest in what is real. You no longer chase answers like birds scattered by the wind. You realize that all true answers are silent. They do not shout from mountaintops. They whisper from within. And so you turn inward, not because the world has failed you, but because the world was never meant to complete you. It was only meant to reflect you. And now you see that what you searched for in others was a glimpse of what had been quietly glowing in your own chest all along. Your essence needs no permission to shine. The light you carry is not dependent on validation or applause. It was placed there by something ancient, something holy, long before you learned to call yourself by name. And that light does not diminish with age. It does not fade with failure. It is not measured in moments of greatness. It is eternal because it is truth. And truth does not compete. It does not beg. It simply is. The moment you stop trying to become what you already are, you allow that truth to rise. Not like a performance, but like a sunrise, effortless, inevitable, and full of grace. And as it rises, it reveals something even more tender. The realization that all along, life has been for you. Even the pain, even the detours, even the silence you mistook for abandonment. Everything in its strange perfection has been leading you not to something new, but back to yourself. Not to more answers, but to deeper presence. Not to a destination, but to a remembering that you are not a mistake. You are not behind. You are not in need of fixing. You are the one the journey was designed to awaken. You are the spark in the center of the flame. You are the breath behind the prayer. You are the presence of God made manifest in human form. There comes a moment when you realize that all you're seeking has been a kind of circling, not a mistake, but a spiral, a sacred, winding inward. At first, you search for meaning in the faces of others, in the accolades, in the mirror of the world's approval. But now, like a tide returning home, you begin to sense that what you've been searching for is not something to be found, but something to be remembered. It is not out there. It never has been. It is the quiet depth beneath your thoughts, the still space behind your words, the untouched silence behind every story you've ever told yourself. That silence is the presence of God. And it has been with you from the first breath and will remain with you long after the final one. You are not alone. You never have been. The aloneness you feel is not an absence, but a sacred invitation to come closer to yourself, to sit in the holy fire of your own presence without running, without fixing, without numbing. This is the courage the world seldom teaches, the courage to be with yourself fully, tenderly, without masks. To let the ache be heard, to let the fear be held, to let the grief become a gateway, not to despair, but to depth. Because when you allow yourself to feel it all, without resistance, without judgment, you discover that even your pain has been a carrier of light. A divine messenger, not to destroy you, but to crack the shell that kept you from the truth of your infinite nature. The ego fears this kind of surrender. It will tell you that to stop striving is to lose, that to be soft is to be weak, that to rest is to fall behind. But the soul knows better. The soul remembers a different way. It knows that there is great power in stillness, that creation itself began not with motion but with silence, that flowers do not bloom by effort but by alignment, and that your purpose, your path, your peace, these are not things you must chase. They are rivers that flow to you when you stop building dams of doubt and begin trusting the current of your own divine design. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not lost. You are being called inward. There is a sacred unfolding that happens when you no longer rush to fix what feels uncomfortable, but instead choose to be with it, breathe with it, hold space for it, and in that space something miraculous begins to emerge. A softness, a compassion, a clarity that cannot be taught, only remembered. You begin to see with the eyes of the heart, and in doing so you recognize the sacred in places you once overlooked. In the eyes of a stranger, in the crack of your own voice, in the way sunlight touches your skin. God reveals himself not just in temples, but in traffic, in laughter, in tears, in the holy mess of ordinary life. And suddenly, nothing needs to change for everything to be different. You find yourself walking through the same world, but with new eyes. The leaves are no longer just leaves. They are scriptures written in green. The breeze is no longer random. It is a kiss from the formless. The silence between your thoughts becomes a sanctuary. The presence you once searched for in churches or texts or philosophies now lives in your heartbeat, your breath, your awareness. You no longer pray to reach something beyond you, pray by becoming what you already are. A living prayer, a moving meditation, a temple of light wrapped in skin. To awaken to this truth is not to escape the human experience. It is to infuse it with meaning so deep that even suffering becomes sacred. You no longer run from your wounds, you witness them. You no longer carry shame, you transmute it. You no longer fear the darkness, you meet it with the knowing that light has always been your essence. This is not the journey of self-improvement. This is the path of self-remembrance. Not trying to fix what was never broken, but removing the layers that hid the light. You are not here to perform divinity, you are here to embody it. And in this embodiment, you become a quiet revolution. Not through noise, not through force, but through presence. People feel it before you speak. They feel something ancient in your stillness, something sacred in your presence. You do not need to explain it. You do not need to prove it. You simply are. And that being is the medicine this world has forgotten. A reminder that peace is not a destination, it is a frequency. A state of being that arises when you are fully here, fully now, fully aligned with the knowing that God is not watching you. God is being you. And as you allow this presence to saturate your being, a soft unraveling begins, not a destruction, but a shedding. The identities you wore so tightly, the roles you played to feel safe, the masks that smiled when your heart ached, they begin to fall away, not with effort, but with grace. You do not mourn their loss, you bless their purpose. They protected you when you forgot the eternal truth, but you no longer need to be protected from yourself. You are safe in your own presence. You are whole in your own gaze. And what remains when the outer layers dissolve is not emptiness, it is spaciousness. Room for the divine to stretch its arms through you. Room for peace to breathe. Room for the real you to rise, not the constructed self, but the eternal one. In this sacred space, you realize that you were never the one who needed healing. You are the healer. Not because you fix others, but because your presence itself becomes a balm. You walk into rooms and hearts quiet, not because of charisma, but because you carry something real, something ancient, something that says, you are safe here, you are loved here, you are seen here. You begin to live not from performance, but from alignment. You no longer speak to be heard, you speak because truth moves through you. You no longer act to be valued, you act because love flows through you. You are no longer trying to convince the world of your light, you have become the light. And this light does not demand perfection. It does not shrink when you falter. It does not abandon you in your moments of doubt. It remains steady, quiet, unmoved. The presence of God in you does not rise and fall with your moods or your circumstances. It is not affected by your temporary beliefs. It is not offended by your fears. It is the constant, the eternal, the witness behind it all. And the more you return to it, the more you come to see that life was never about controlling the waves. It was about remembering that you are the ocean. The world will continue to spin. There will be moments of sorrow, of loss, of uncertainty. But you will not be moved in the same way. Because something inside you has rooted itself in truth. And from that root, a different kind of life grows. Not faster, not louder, not more successful in the way society measures success, but fuller, richer, more awake. You begin to feel things more deeply, not because you are fragile, but because your armor is gone. You begin to weep, not from weakness, but from reverence. You begin to laugh from the belly, to listen from the heart, to move through the world as if every moment matters, because it does. Each breath becomes sacred, not because it is rare, but because you are finally paying attention. You are no longer sleepwalking through your life. You are awake. And in this awakened state, you discover the quiet joy of being present. Not always happy, not always certain, but always here, and here is enough. You do not need to be somewhere else, someone else, something more. The divine is not in some distant destiny, it is in your willingness to be here now. To touch the ground with your bare feet and whisper, this moment is holy, this breath is enough, this heart is full of God. And so your life becomes less about chasing and more about allowing, less about performing and more about expressing. You do not strive for worth, you live from it. You do not barter for love, you embody it. You do not wait for peace, you become the space in which peace arises. And slowly, the grip loosens. The clenched jaw relaxes. The tight chest softens. You are no longer bracing against life. You are flowing with it, trusting the intelligence that orchestrates the stars to guide your every step, not with loud commands, but with soft nudges, with intuitive whispers, with the sacred rhythm of your own breath. And now we arrive not at an ending, but at a threshold. The path does not close, it deepens, it folds inward, not to imprison, but to liberate. And in this final unfolding, the truth that has been echoing through every breath, every still moment, every whispered remembrance comes fully alive. The presence of God is not just within you, it is you. Not as metaphor, but as reality. Not as a distant echo, but as the very essence of your being. You are not merely carrying the light, you are made of it. All your longing, all your searching, all your reaching, it was never in vain. It was the soul stretching its arms through the fabric of illusion, yearning not for something outside, but to return to what has always been true. Every ache was a doorway, every tear was a cleansing, every doubt was a question that pointed you back inward. Even your resistance, even your forgetting, even your fear, they were never signs of failure. They were part of the dance, part of the choreography of awakening. You were never off track. You were never outside the divine embrace. Not for one breath, not for 1 second. And now you know, not in theory, not in words, but in your bones, in your silence, in the deep well of your knowing, that there is nothing to become, nothing to earn, nothing to fix. You were never broken. You were always holy. This is the liberation the soul came to remember, that love is not a goal, it is your identity, that peace is not a prize, it is your foundation, that God is not a judge in the sky, but the beloved within the breath, the presence, the still awareness that watches, loves, and gently guides. You may still walk through storms, you may still stumble and forget, but you will never again be fully lost, because once the truth is known, it cannot be unknown. Once the flame is felt, even the darkest night cannot extinguish it. You will carry this presence into every moment, into the grocery line, into the hard conversations, into the quiet mornings and the restless nights. You will be the space that reminds others of their own holiness, not by preaching, but by being, not by fixing, but by seeing. And in your presence, they too will begin to remember. And this perhaps is the most sacred gift of all, that your own return to truth becomes a mirror for others to find their way home. There is no applause, no dramatic crescendo, just a breath, and then another, and in that breath, a deep and eternal knowing. I am here. I am whole. I am held. I am the presence I once sought. I am the love I once chased. I am the light I once feared I'd lost. And in this knowing, the final wall dissolves, the last illusion fades, and what remains is simple and eternal and free. You are not here to become divine. You are here to remember that you always have been. And now, beloved soul, you remember.